Do you know who knows ball? Pro Football Focus. And do you know who we have on today's show? It's Hunter Stahl, one of the fine evaluators over at Pro Football Focus. Go through the important numbers for MSU football season. Let's
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but hey, this summer FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for kicking off your day and week with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below on YouTube. Reach out to us at LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. And Hunter, it just kind of hit me. Thanks for kicking off your week with us here as we are less than 3 weeks until kickoff. Can you feel the energy? Does it feel like it's almost here, Hunter? My engines are starting to get revved up right now. Let's go.
Yep, absolutely. Sure does. It feels like it's been a very long offseason for some reason, but
yeah, very
excited, for the new era of football under Coach Smith.
Maybe it felt like a long offseason. I hate to start this on such a sour note. This is going to be an upbeat, joyous conversation, but maybe it just felt long because basketball wasn't the Robin Hood that we all thought it was going to be.
Absolutely.
And then, after that, we were able to enjoy the long spring and summer months. But here we are, kickoff around the corner. And Hunter, let's just cut to the chase. Let's cut to the man of the hour here. It's Aidan Chiles. This man has been the headliner of the offseason, quarterback transfer from Oregon State, in case anyone's been living under a rock. This kid's the cat's pajamas, according to a lot of people out there. He's only played 90-some snaps, though. So while I'm excited, a lot of State fans are excited. Hunter, in your expert evaluation, how much were you even able to gather in his 90-some snaps he played over in Corvallis last year?
Yeah, sure thing. So last season, he only had actually 35 pass attempts from those snaps.
Yeah.
As a true freshman. And so overall, we had him at a 65.8 passing grade on the year. So some background there about PFF passing grades or grades in general is that it's just a scale from 0 to 100. Obviously, 100 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. Very similar to grades that you see in school.
Sure.
And a little bit below average at 68.5 last year. Now, looking back more at his game film last year, he played primarily in 2 games where he had more than just a few passes. And those games were against UC Davis and then Stanford. Okay, so the first game against UC Davis that I went back and watched, he had 13 attempts for 9 completions. Now, watching back those game films, his biggest issue so far is definitely just accuracy in his passing game. He missed some very easy short passes, some dump-offs or checkdowns. And he also missed some open guys downfield too. But with that being said, he also did hit some guys in stride and was on target and so forth. So very similar to what we saw in the spring game or spring showcase, where it was, some were on target, some were just sailed over the head of receivers. So overall, just kind of inconsistent there at this point. He did show, though, his running ability in that game where he had a nice play where he was pressured, pocket kind of collapsed, and he was able to rush out of that pocket for about 20 yards downfield. And then the other game against Stanford that I wanted to note as well was that same kind of thing there. He had several misses on just miscommunications with his receivers.
Okay.
On the same page with routes or route depth and so forth. But he did show a lot of good accuracy on rollout passes. So last year on designed play action passes, he actually went 7 for 7 for 93 yards and a touchdown. So definitely seems to be a strength of his is getting out of the pocket where he can see the field better and, be more effective in that role. So overall here, my consensus on Chiles is just that although he has a very high ceiling and can probably be a very, special quarterback here at MSU, I think he's not quite there yet. I think he's going to have time to develop and, we shouldn't be too surprised as fans this season if he takes time to have some growing pains, throw some picks, make some bad plays.
Sure.
And kind of just get through that process where he can be better, maybe, later this year, next year, what have you.
Echoing a lot of what Jonathan Smith has been saying, and just about maybe every press conference when Aidan Chiles is brought up, yes, he builds him up. Obviously, he's not just saying oh God, this. No one get too excited, but he does end it with, let's have some patience here. He still is a true sophomore, just like you said, 35 pass attempts. he's going to be 18 years old. Like, he's even a young true sophomore. So, yeah, we are excited. My God, if you've listened to just the show for 5 minutes in the offseason, you know how excited we are about him. Just his raw ability, his legs, his big arm that he has on him. He's got the tools to be a good quarterback one day. It just might take a little bit of time. That's not to say it won't happen this year, but yeah, just, brilliantly said, Hunter. Obviously, you're the guys watching the tape over there and crunching every single step that these guys take. And that's a good assessment right there. Now, for this season to work out, we've also said, and people can agree on this, I think a lot of people are going to agree, is that I for one, would like to see Aidan Chiles healthy the entire season. I know it's asking a lot here, but the guys in charge of that, we're going to go with the presumed starting line right now: Brandon Baldwin, Luke Newman, Tanner Miller, Christian Phillips, and Ashton Lepo. We're just going to make an assumption that that's the starting five right there. Any numbers or anything that you see that either likes or doesn't like this offensive line? How are you assessing this offensive line ahead of the season?
Yeah, so I think overall here, there's definitely some good and bad points regarding the O-line going into the season. So starting first with Brandon Baldwin, kind of in the order you mentioned, Brandon Baldwin had a really rough year last season at left tackle. Okay. So he had a run block grade at 51.0, and we got him at a pass block grade at 47.3 for the season. So obviously very rough numbers there. He actually regressed from 2022. We had better grades in both categories, and he gave up about 29 pressures and 3 sacks. Gotcha. So now we want to see there. But with some good news, though, is that next to him, we have Luke Newman, the transfer from Holy Cross. He put up some great numbers last year, really some elite numbers in the both pass block and run block grade. So his pass block grade was 92.4, and his run block grade was 91.0. And so overall, he's the second best pass block grade in all of the FCS, only giving up 5 pressures and 1 sack all season. So overall here, great numbers from Newman, really what you want to see. It's just a question of will it translate now from FCS to the Power 4 level.
Yeah, and outside to inside too. If he is bumping into guard, like, they've long said at the coaching staff and everything like that. But that's good to know, though. Anything north of 90, I don't care if it's PFF or, the exam grade that you got. Like, we're working with that. 90 is solid. That plays, man. Yeah,
definitely. And then otherwise, we have Tanner Miller coming in from Oregon State. So he played some center and right guard over there. And for him, it's kind of interesting. So he had a really low pass block grade of just 57.7 last season.
Okay.
Had a good run block grade, though, of 80.0. So although he definitely is more of a run blocking lineman, hopefully he can improve that pass block grade and become really a solid player for us, next season. And then to fill up the line here, we have both Christian Phillips and Ashton Lepo. So with Phillips, first of all, he only played 33 snaps last season at right guard. So a very small sample size. Graded pretty poorly once again. So 55.2 pass block, 48 run block. And then Lepo, kind of similar, 9 games, 96 total snaps, and had just a 54.8 run block grade and a 63.8 pass block grade. So once again, some good and bad overall there. Hopefully this season, though, we can see some of the newcomers also add to that. Sure. Guys like Stanton Rommel, Gavin Brocious, or what have you. Because after them, we really don't have, much to our knowledge just yet. So hopefully those guys can contribute, and hopefully, with more experience, Lepo and Phillips can, improve their numbers going forward.
And take it for what it's worth, but based on conversations I've had with people inside the program, like Luke Newman has had a really strong showing so far in fall camp. And this is a guy that wasn't around in the spring. He was a late enrollee. I think that's just how the transfers work from SC. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know it right off the top of my head. What I do know is that he is shining so far in practice right now. So yes, there's a jump from FCS to the Big Ten, of course, but so far, we're a little less than 2 weeks into it. He seems to be shining right now in East Lansing. So some positivity on top of those numbers right there. Still plenty more to come with Hunter Stahl of Pro Football Focus, but first, eBay Motors is going to get you on the winning side of things on the road, in the garage, and everywhere in between, because passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts, I'll say that again, 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or it's your hard-earned money back, because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home the huge wins. So what are you waiting for out there? Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. And before hearing more PFF numbers from the one, the only Hunter Stahl, hey, thank you very much for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. Now, for your second listen, no better place than Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin, he's going to get you ready for the season as well, NIL, conference realignment, the transfer portal, the expanded playoffs, and guys, of course, the games, the actual games that are less than 2 weeks away. That's right, week 0 knocking on the door. So go ahead, head over to Locked On College Football after this, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And just to keep it with the offense, Hunter, any skill position players that you are loving right now, just go ahead and just rip some off for us.
Yeah, you bet. So first I'll go with Kay'Ron Lynch-Adams, the running back transfer from UMass. So he also had some really great numbers last year with PFF. So we had him last year at an impressive 85.1 run rate overall this season. He had over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns on the year. He also had 74 missed tackles forced, which was 4th best in the country among running backs.
Okay.
And with that, too, we also had 800 yards after contact last season, which was 9th best in the entire country. And then on top of that, too, he also had 41 total 10-plus yard runs, which was 3rd best in the nation. So overall, great numbers from him at UMass. Once again, we just hope that I can transfer now from I guess it was independent, soon to be MAC level, to now the Power 4 level from UMass.
Sure. You know, we were looking at Kay'Ron Lynch-Adams, I think it was earlier last week, and, you know, just going through his game logs, he had a strong game against Auburn. I think he topped over 100 yards in that game. So a legitimate program. But my favorite part of his game log last year, 34 carries, 234 yards against Army, harkening back to the 2012 Le'Veon Bell days, just feeding that man over there. But that's nice. Like, I was excited about Kay'Ron Lynch-Adams. You know, he seems like a really thunderous runner, I guess, if I could put an adjective on that. But, man, those numbers are nice. Some missed tackles, some breaking tackles, yards after contact. You're coming here with the goods, man. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Just to keep it with the running back position, though, Nate Carter. I'm a huge Nate Carter fan, obviously. I know that statistically it was not the year that he wanted last year. He went like the last 10 games without finding the end zone. Not ideal if you're a running back, just to make note of that. Am I wrong for believing that he's still a really good running back and last year was just kind of a cluster bleep of everything else that happened? Or give us your scoop on Nate Carter. Are you a believer? Are you a believer, Hunter?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a believer.
Let's go.
So overall last year, we had Nate Carter as the best returning player on the offense offense side of the ball last season.
Sure.
Now, although he only had 4 touchdowns, he did finish the year with a above average season run rate of 78.2.
Okay.
And so with his other numbers like yards after contact, missed tackles forced, first downs gained, those kind of things, he was in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten running backs.
Okay.
Overall, though, I think the biggest thing with Nate Carter is that he shows us those kind of glimpses of what he can be, with a solid O-line. So, he has a great change of direction. He makes guys miss. He has a pretty good burst of speed downfield. So overall, I think, with an improved, hopefully, O-line, and more importantly, with a new coaching staff, a whole new system on offense, we should be able to see him have a strong season going forward this year.
Gotcha. And just with receivers or tight ends, anyone really catch your eye, or is all the shine really on Kay'Ron Lynch-Adams as far as the PFF numbers go?
Yeah, so the other guy, too, is Jack Velling. So once again, talk about him up and down this summer.
Yeah.
But obviously very exciting prospect, a tight end coming in from Oregon State as well. So his receiving grade last year was a 77.2, which was the top receiving grade amongst tight ends in the Pac-12. And then 7th overall amongst Power 5 teams last season. Watching some of his game film, too, is that he's a great red zone target or red zone threat. So I watched the game against Cal as well, and he had 3 touchdowns all in the red zone in that game. And some of it was scheme. Some of it was just being, of course, a big red zone target. Mm-hmm. But also, too, he's not just like an inline tight end. He can also spread out as well. So last season, he had over 200 snaps at either slot or split out as a wide receiver. And there's also a play, too, where, he broke down the seam, had a nice long touchdown pass, right up the middle of the field as a slot receiver. So there's definitely some versatile aspect to his game there. And so overall, very impressive what we see with Jack Velling coming into this year.
So 200 plays either wide or in the slot. Did I get that
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Gotcha. And that can kind of foreshadow what they could do with their Brennan Parachek. And they've also said as much, during their media availability that during practice they've been bumping them out to slot or out wide. So like that's just kind of just how they handle the tight ends over there in Corvallis. That just screams tight end development, which like, my God, Hunter, when's the last time you've seen that? It's been too long.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like the Rose Bowl days, man. And I'm kind of a tight end guy. So that would be nice. Let's switch sides of the ball here. We're going to go to the defense. We've been clamoring up and down about this. A lot of people have been because, it just seems to me on paper that linebacker is going to be the strength of this defense. Maybe if not the whole team, if you want to take it there. But right or wrong, do you think linebacker is the strength of this side of the ball at least?
So I do agree, mainly because there's so much uncertainty around the D-line and the secondary.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So it definitely seems to be most solid, or at least we know what to expect more so going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously with linebacker, we return Jordan Hall, Cal Haladay, and also they'll add impact transfers like Jordan Turner and Wayne Matthews.
Yep. And
hopefully too, we get a healthy Darius Snow. We'll see about that, but
yeah,
always good when he's healthy. So first with Jordan Turner, he finished with a pretty good grade last year at Wisconsin of a 69.1 overall grade on defense. And we, of course, think that he's going to be more of a middle linebacker role here solely at MSU.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we also have Wayne Matthews, who you talked about a bunch this summer.
Yeah.
And so overall, he graded very well last year. So on defense, he had an overall grade of 77.1. But more importantly, he had a coverage grade of 78.3. So if you look at his stats, though, from last year, he didn't have many, doesn't have any interceptions or many pass breakups. Mm-hmm. But what that grade, though, really entails is more so just making plays in coverage and being in the right spot at the right time. So that includes like locking down receivers. It includes, stopping guys short of the first down sticks or tackling guys who they do make a catch down the field. Mm-hmm. He's right there making a play. So great numbers from him. And, like you said before a million times, it's good to finally have a pass coverage linebacker in the mix here.
Fair to be somewhat, and here we go again. What's this phrase? Once bitten, twice shy. I feel like we've done this before with other position groups in the last few years, getting excited, even though they've shown, some struggle in the past as we move to the secondary, Hunter. But here I am, just like optimistic about it, even though they've been amongst the worst unit for the last 3 years in the Big Ten running, but like experienced guys with talent. Like Malik Spencer, Dylan Tatum, who might be playing his true position here at safety. Ed Wood's a great transfer. Chance Rucker, I feel like secondary can be optimistic this year. Are you going to shoot that down immediately here, or are you going to just enable me to believe like the sucker that I am right now? Shoot me straight here. What do you got for us?
Sure thing. So I think the first thing this year is, first of all, having Ed Woods as a transfer, and secondly, just the depth. So first with Ed Woods, that was obviously a surprising transfer because usually guys that are starters in P4 don't really go to another P4, absent, of course, like NIL deals or other considerations. So it's a very pleasant surprise in the offseason to pick him up from Arizona State. Now, last season, he finished with a pretty solid 77.9 coverage grade, and that was the fifth highest graded corner in the Pac-12. He had 1 pick, 4 pass breakups, and only allowed 26 catches on 46 targets. So about half of the targets last year.
Gotcha.
So I'm confident in that aspect because we're getting an actual solid starting cornerback that experience playing Power 4 football. And then secondly, too, just the depth. I think that's been an issue in the past years with the secondary. A lot of guys getting hurt, and we're playing, true freshmen in that role. So, if you look how deep we are with safeties, you have Dylan Tatum, Malik Spencer, Nakai Martinez, Angelo Gross for seemingly his 12th year here.
No kidding.
And,
right.
Corners, we got Ed Wood, Chance Rucker, Chuck Brantley, Legend Cavazos, Caleb Coley. So I think here, just with that depth, and once again, having a new system, new coaching in place, that the goal here should just be to have an average secondary, right? Because we've been getting torched so bad the past 3 years on the back end of our defense that I think by having just an average secondary, that'll help us win more games and just have, a whole turnaround for us going forward.
That was our whole thing last week when we touched on the secondary, because the topic was who's going to be the most improved unit. And we talked about the depth. We talked about the talented transfer additions that they had. We also said this is not going to be the no-fly zone defense. Like we're not taking a time machine back a decade. We don't need it to, at least for this year. Yeah, we're not going to get overly greedy this year. Okay, we're going to have some fair expectations here, and that's just average. Oh, we'll take good, of course. Like, let's not be silly about it, but like I just need to see something in the middle of the Big Ten. I don't think that's too greedy. And yeah, sure, like that's kind of weak just to ask for average, but God, after the last 3 years, I'll bargain for anything at this point. It's been bad. Little more to come with Hunter Stahl of Pro Football Focus, but first, FanDuel Sportsbook. They are keeping it sunny every day this summer. Well, look, they do it year-round. They're America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. You know how great they are during the football season, the basketball season, but even in the dead of summer, now that Olympics are also over, the playoffs are long gone, and guys, like the sports aren't sporting the way we want them to. We all know this, but FanDuel is getting us off the mat. They are keeping us going whenever we want. All we got to do is open up the app and dream up any bets anytime we are in the mood, because this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers. That's right, not just the new ones, but all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long, and if you already can't wait to get your money on a Michigan State football game, bang, week 1 right now, our Spartans 11.5-point favorites over the Florida Atlantic Owls. So if you're feeling hot about that line, mosey on over to FanDuel.com and place that wager. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. It's FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. And just like you said, with the depth and the true freshman playing, like last year, Chance Rucker, UK, true freshman, that's a guy that got a lot of spin. Like, there is, a good faction of this fan base, myself included, that was somewhat impressed with what you saw to him last year. Were you one of those people too? Did you like what you saw to Chance Rucker as a true freshman?
I did overall. Yeah. I mean, he definitely had kind of some hit and miss plays, right? Where he make a play in the ball or make a good tackle here and there. But also then he kind of let someone burn him or, what have you. I'm pretty sure in the game against Ohio State, we had him on Marvin Harrison Jr., which probably didn't help too much.
Burnt into my memory, that play right there. No safety help on a guy who's going to hear his name called within the first 30 minutes of draft night.
Yes.
Great idea. Sure. That's awesome, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, but I think overall there, aside from, of course, that game, definitely a lot of potential for him. I think he'd definitely be a special cornerback here, coming at least maybe not upcoming year, next year going forward as he develops.
Oh my God, that play! I will never forget that play. Because after I was done cackling for like 5 straight minutes in my lonesome, my first thought after that was, well, what a great learning opportunity for him right now. Like this, you can't pay for lessons like this. How blessed is he to get dunked on basically for 2 straight hours that night? Anyway, how much drop off is there with the defensive line from one positive topic to another here? Because, look, obviously the departures of Simeon Barrow, Derek Harmon, they aided it or have tried to aid it somewhat with Ben Roberts, Jalen Satchel, Daquan Dowse, of course. How much of a drop-off did Michigan State see on that defensive line, do you think?
Yeah, so I think on the interior D-line, we definitely will see some drop-off this season. With Derek Harmon leaving, Harmon was the top-graded defender last season on MSU's defense with PFF. And Simeon Barrow was actually the 4th highest-graded defender on our defense last season.
Okay.
And the replacements that we have for this season, I don't think we'll completely fill that void that they left. Sure. And so we have Daquan Dowse coming in from Georgia Tech. He had just his 58.7 grade last season on defense. And then Maverick Hansen had a 65.8 overall defensive grade. So not much there. So overall there, once again, we hope that we see some newcomers and some young guys. So maybe like an Alex Van Sumeren, who's finally healthy, can fill that void and fill that gap. Or maybe get something out of guys like Jalen Satchel or Ben Roberts, like you mentioned, to once again help fill that role. Because obviously there are plenty of snaps there to be had.
And like rushing the quarterback, that's a big topic of conversation. Wasn't necessarily all there last year for Michigan State. And of course, well, you see that reflect on the secondary and their numbers too. You obviously need pass rush there. Is that like an okay spot right now going into the season, you think, or is there a lot to be desired as far as just, rushing the passer goes, you think?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the other positions go, like DNs and edge rushers, I think we'll be a little bit better there and more solid going into the season. So we obviously bring back Chris Bogle, first of all. He had 9 pressures last year and had a 68.1 overall grade on defense. But more importantly, though, we have Jalen Thompson coming back, who actually as a true freshman last year was the 2nd highest graded player on our entire defense.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
And so with him too, we also have Avery Dunn coming back. He had the 3rd highest grade last year on defense at 74.1. But we also add a new guy too, Quindarius Dunnigan, Middle Tennessee.
Yes.
So last year he had 23 total quarterback pressures and an overall 73.5 rush grade on defense. So definitely help there with a rush defense. And then otherwise too, once again, you have newcomers. Hopefully, like a guy like Ken Talley can help contribute and, help out our rush game, which has also been slacking, like you mentioned, in the previous seasons.
Anything else that really stuck out to you when you were just pouring over the numbers going into this season that we didn't hit on yet that you want to bring up here too? The old Spartan Nation.
Yeah, so kind of to end on a good note here, talking special teams. So
hey now,
if all else fails, we do have a good kicker and punter. So last season, Jonathan Kim was graded as the number 18 overall field goal kicker amongst the entire country. And then Ryan Eckley as punter was actually the 5th highest rated punter in the entire country last season.
Man, that's like probably I've been run a lot on this show. Let's not, kid ourselves here, but that might be the most run I've been is, okay, well, it's going to be a big drop off just on face value from Bryce Behringer to Ryan Eckley. And this kid just banged the hell out of the ball throughout last season. So that's going to play here because I'm not really talking out of my butt when I say like, they could have the best kicker punter duo in the conference, if not one of the best in the country next year. So in these coin flip games, we've seen it a lot that, okay, you know what, especially against Iowa, for example, we've been seeing this all over and over again. That game could very well be a race to 20 points coming up this season. In those sort of games, very well comes down to special teams executions. How well are your punter and kicker doing that day? And well, we saw it in Iowa City last year unfold before our very eyes, actually. That being one of the reasons they lost. But that's going to be like an important aspect of the season. Like all jokes aside, like our kicker and punter might be the reason we smile on Saturdays here, Hunter. Like, great. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, as long as we can line up correctly, and not have any false starts or anything, then it'll be good, I think. But as long as you care that, they'll be all right.
Do you guys PFF grade coordinators or coaches or you? And if not, could you start? Because, I know someone that could have gotten below a 0 last year, Hunter. Not going to name names or anything, but put that in your boss's ear. See if that's the thing that you guys want to do in the future here.
Sure. Yeah, I'm all for that. It sounds like a good metric to grade.
Yeah, or just like time management. You could grade the coaches on that and everything. Look, before we get you out the door and enjoying the rest of your week, first and foremost, thank you very much for your time, of course, and all your knowledge, your insight. But got to ask the tackiest question that a talking head like myself could do. Record prediction. We're less than 3 weeks out. What do you got for us? 10-2? Are we going to the Orange Bowl? Let's hear it from you, Hunter.
I mean, that'd be nice. I mean, I wouldn't be mad about that at all.
It'd be okay. It'd be okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with 7-5 this year.
Okay.
And not as easy as 7-5 saying that we're just going to lose to like those 4 games in the middle and then maybe somewhere else. But I think it could be one of those funky years for us where maybe we, lose to like a Maryland or a Rutgers or at Boston College or something, then also upset, Iowa or Michigan or something like that. I kind of see it being one of those kind of weird years, if you will, where, we kind of win some games that we shouldn't and also lose some games that we should win, going forward.
I could totally see it. Like, starting the year 4-0, or, college game day is in East Lansing against Ohio State. We're feeling ourselves. And then, we lose 2 in a row, beat Iowa. Okay. Keep it close against Michigan. And then inexplicably at the end of the season, like lose to Purdue, beat Illinois, lose to Indiana, but beat Rutgers. Just like some complete topsy-turvy end to the year. But I like the cut of your jib, Hunter. There we go. Because I got the same record prediction. I'm at 7-5. I've been solid on that ever since the spring, which, just like you said at the top, it seemingly feels like 2 years ago. But Hunter, before we let you go, anything you want to plug here on your end?
Yeah, so obviously give us a follow on social media. PFF is everywhere on every platform.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't, sign up for PFF Premium. So with an account there, you can get access to all the numbers I mentioned tonight. You can see it for yourself, sort it out. And then otherwise, I'm on Twitter too personally. It's at Hunter_42MSU. I tweet out a lot of stuff after games, like top 5 players on defense, offense with PFF grades, kind of random PFF stuff too involving MSU. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, give me a follow.
We absolutely are interested in that. So yes, guys, Hunter_42MSU on Twitter. And folks, we will be back later this week. We will have Justin Thin. You may or may not know him. If you're a State fan, of course you know him. What am I talking about? But until then, guys, take care of yourselves. Love you all. You know where to keep it tuned. Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. All right, go green.